I had asked about the breakdown of the tax revenue impact of the governor's minimum wage proposal and how it would work through. So the Department of Revenue's numbers, as submitted to us previously, was that it would yield $133 million in revenue. The letter provided some fidelity on the expected breakdown of how that would impact personal income tax, sales and use tax, corporate net income tax. And there's also some discussion in there about some of the data that the Department of Revenue used pertaining to the Congressional Budget Office related to job losses. I was wondering if you could provide a little discussion on what the job impacts would be in Pennsylvania based on the Department of Revenue's projections and the data that you used with the Congressional Budget Office.
Yes, thank you. I'll take that. So in order to try to measure what I would call fewer hours worked or fewer jobs, we look towards the Congressional Budget Office. They have extensive documentation on their website. They also acknowledge there's a very broad range of studies, I think we discussed this last time, over what the impacts could be. Within their website, they had an estimate that there would be a 0.16% decline in employment if the minimum wage should go to $12 per hour. So we applied that to our current labor force to say, here's an estimate of fewer jobs, which came out to about 9,700 jobs, 49 jobs. So I wanted to say a few things about that. It doesn't necessarily represent job losses. What it can represent are fewer hours worked. It can represent people who currently have to work 2 jobs in order to make ends meet, that now with the minimum wage increase would only need to work 1 job. So I wanted to stress that it's represented as job losses, and that's true, but at the same time, a lot of it is fewer hours worked. The IFO did something similar. They used a higher percentage, they got a larger number, but within their reports, they acknowledge similar things, that it can be fewer hours worked. A low-wage person is now able to only work 1 job instead of 2. And also in the context of this could increase wages for 1.5 million people in Pennsylvania.
So would it be correct to view that 9,749 job number as full-time equivalents?
No, I don't think I would quite think of it that way, because within that there would be, I believe, some part-time jobs, and there would be people currently working 2 jobs that now would only need to work 1 at the higher wage of $12 per hour.
I guess I'm a little confused, though, because if you're saying that the job losses as a label could be either just lost jobs or a reduction in hours worked, how do you convert hours worked if some are part-time, some are full-time? It doesn't sound like there's a uniform calculation being applied there.
With the 0.16% decline in employment, we applied that to all jobs, which would include full-time and part-time. So it's a rough estimate of all types of jobs, but I think it's really important to notice it doesn't necessarily represent a job loss. It can also represent fewer jobs are created in the future because of the higher wage that employers will pay. And it also represents some voluntary job loss where a person who needs to work 2 jobs can now work 1 and make ends meet.
And if I could just continue on then, and I appreciate the discussion on that. And then our other discussion a few weeks back related to the breakdown of tax revenues of the different types. So I was wondering if you could specifically address how this proposal would impact not only personal income tax and sales and use tax, but also corporate net income taxes, and how that would be reflected in the taxes that employers pay in the Commonwealth.
Well, we started with looking at the impact from increasing the wages of over 1 million people. That would result in a wage increase and a PIT rate increase of 143 million. Then the second impact we looked at was just the impact of tax forgiveness. By increasing the wages of low-income people, they are able to move off of tax forgiveness and begin paying taxes. That's a relatively small net impact of 11 million. The next thing we considered is, what is the impact on business owners? Because business owners are paying higher wages, we said, okay, their profits may go down, and that is estimated within the PIT column. And then there are 2 small impacts of both growth impact on wages and employment growth impact on business income. So there's going to be small positives and negatives. The largest impact is the impact from increasing the wages for the wage earners. For the sales tax, we did pretty much a very similar thing. We looked at the income increases and said, okay, if 70% roughly is spent on taxable goods, here's additional sales tax. And to be fair, we looked at the other side and said, if some business income goes down, these people may buy fewer taxable goods, and there's a decline there. So overall, by increasing the wages of over 1 million people, we have additional revenue of $133 million. Now, for the corporate net income tax, we did not model that into this. It's difficult to tell. A lot of corporate net income tax flows out of state. It may flow in the form of dividends to the stock owners. So the only impact for business income was on personal income tax. It's something we could look at in the future, but it seemed a little bit beyond what we were able to do.
And my time is up, and I appreciate the opportunity to get some fidelity on the numbers, and I think that the job that we as members of this committee have going forward then is to try to take the projections and the best estimates that Department of Revenue has been able to give us, put that together with projections from the IFO and other sources, and then come up with what we think those numbers mean. But we can now start working on an interpretation of that, so I really appreciate the chance to have that follow-up. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.